guys, I'm back. I haven't done a book review in a very long time. I've moved house. This is our new window. Don't mind my car steering wheel cover that I have yet to put back in my car because it needs washing. I haven't been reading a lot, actually. So I've been in the new place now for 4 months and a lot has happened. So I've been busy. But after the horrible experience of trying to read the bloody Hades and Persephone books, I'm back. And we're starting off strong. Oh, also, this is a multi-review because I'm not just reviewing one book for this one. Okay, but we're going to start with Spell Shop. I'm also going to be reviewing Emily Wilde. So cute. I'll get to them. But first, The Spell Shop. Sarah Beth Durst. Beautiful writing. Very cozy, very cottagecore style book. Very cute. PG all the way. And I'm not mad about it. We know what we read. And what we would normally read is so not PG, it's not funny. But this was such a nice little reset. And I actually read this after I finished the Emily Wilde books. And it took me a while to get through the Emily Wilde books because, and I'll talk about that later. The Spell Shop. This was so cute. It was the cutest little love story. And it was yes, it was predictable, but in the cutest way. And so I gave this 5 stars on Goodreads. And also I've just downloaded a new book tracking app called Fable, Fable. And it's actually really cute, and it has notifications and stuff that it can send you. Anyway, the first page of this book is traumatic event, right? And a library? Spoiler alert. Now, we all know that if we've been here before that I am horrible at being able to review books without actually spoiling anything about said books. So if you want a book review that doesn't have any spoilers, you're probably going to want to find someone else to watch. Otherwise, stay with me. First page, traumatic event. Fire in the library. Literal worst nightmare. I would die. You find out very quickly that our main character, Keela, is a librarian. She's been doing this for her entire life. She's always loved books. And she has a talking plant, which is the best thing in the world. So her talking plant, Kaz, is the sassiest talking plant that you'll ever meet, and it's great. I love it so much. He brings so much humour, and Keela has a very realistic, dry sense of humour anyway. But Kaz is just so sarcastic, and he brings so much humour to this book. It's so great. I love it so much. This book made me feel I wanted to be Keela. I wanted to be Keela. I wanted to jump into this story and become the main character and go on this adventure and this journey with her, because it is just so it's traumatic, but it's also heartwarming, and it's also closure, and it's so beautiful, and I wanted it so bad. So she's living in the city, in the main city. She's working as a librarian. She's been there for her entire life. You find out very early on that her parents are not around, and the library is on fire because there is some sort of political war going on in the background. The political war is not actually that prevalent in this story, but there's bits and pieces that make the story make sense. So if you're not into politics and that's what's worrying you, don't worry about it, because I hate politics and I'm so not into politics at all. But this book did it really well, where it just gave you the tidbits that you needed to know for the story to keep moving, which was lovely. And she has had to make a decision as to what she's going to do now that the library is on fire. This is her lifeline. This is her entire life is on fire. And she has her talking plant, Kaz, and the books. She has to figure out what she wants to do. So she decides she's going to go back to her hometown because she knows that her parents aren't around, but their house is still there. Her childhood home is still on her little island. She knows how to get there. She can sail a boat. She's very handy. And she's decided that she is going to have to steal as many of the library's books as possible, which is super illegal, by the way. Can get caught and hung for said thing. Does it anyway. Ends up back on her hometown island. She finds her parents' home, hoping to God that nobody ever finds her and she's able to just slip in and out like it's nothing. And lo and behold, the, like, single bachelor of the island who was, like, best friends, or not even best friends, but, like, friendly with her when they were, like, children, and he remembers her, is on the island still. So, and he lives, like, just down the beach. So her house is, like, up on the hill, and then he just lives down on the beach. It's, like, up and down the stairs, not very far. Yes, so that happens. Very exciting. And it starts this beautiful story of, like, her being very standoffish. Being like, what are you doing in my life? Or, like, why are you helping me? What are you what are you trying to get at? And he's actually just being really lovely. Like, he just wants to help her and, like, be a good neighbor because the island is very small and everybody helps everybody and everybody knows who everybody is. And yeah, very, very cute. This book is beautiful. And so it's 374 pages long. So it's a small book, right, guys? We'll finish this in, like, a couple of hours. I don't believe I read this in one sitting. I absolutely could have. I've been so busy with life that I don't believe that I've read it in one sitting. But this was just so cute. So once this whole story starts with her and the hot single bachelor man on the island, she needs to figure out how she can make a living. And there is magic in this world, but you have to be, like, certified and, like, on the right side of the government to be allowed to use it. But the books that she stole from the library were spell books, which is kind of where the title of the book is coming from. And you can kind of guess that this is her beautiful little house. She is trying to find a way to make a living on this island. And she decides to use a plant growth spell to fix the gardens at her childhood home, because the house has been abandoned for many years and everything's been overgrown and everything like this. So she wants to use the plant growth spell and clean everything up and try and see if she can get some fruit and veg growing again. And she starts with berries, I believe. And so this spell ends up working for her. She grows these berries and she decides that she's going to make jam. So she's going to open a shop from her house selling jam, because she's found that in the town itself, they don't have a lot of fresh fruit and veg that can grow anywhere because of the land. Again, with the political side of things that are going on, they used to send a sorcerer to the island every now and again to fortify the soil and stuff to make it so that fresh fruit and veg kept growing. And since the political war stuff has been happening, they're not doing that anymore, so the island doesn't have what they need. So she takes it upon herself. She notices that the local bakery doesn't have anything with jam in it, and she was like, well, that's sacrilege. And decides to make her own jam from her family recipe, obviously. which is super cute as well. So she's doing that, but then in the back, she's actually selling them like little miracles, essentially. So she can perform like small spells that would help people be able to grow their own fruit and veg and stuff. So during this process of like investigation and elimination of how everything works properly, she finds out a way to be able to like gift these spells to people, and then she keeps getting return customers for both the gem and her spells. And yeah, super cool. And then further into the story, she ends up another like stray. Oh, sorry, no. Another person ends up coming to the island saying that they are from the government, and they're like, I know what you are, I know that you do spells, that's illegal, I'm here on official government business, blah blah blah. And Keela is like super worried about this, but she's at this point she already has like a little, I'm gonna call it a coven, because they are like a little coven of witches. They don't call themselves that, they call themselves something else. It's very cute. But yeah, they end up not liking this person that has come along and is trying to like fool them into thinking that there's nothing going on here on this island and that it's all very, very normal. And so there's a whole scene, there's a whole story there as well, with how they go through and try and fool her, and it doesn't work, and then you find out a secret about her, because apparently she is not who she says she is, she's actually somebody else. And then there's another actual official person that's looking for her, that comes to the island on their ship, and then they have to they end up deciding that this stray girl, who's not who she says she is, actually needs saving, and that this other person that's actually a part of the government is trying to find her is not worth her time. So they have to send them away and act as if there's nothing going on. This is a great, for 364 pages, there is so much story in here. There is so much like cute little moments. I was like little girl giggling throughout most of this book, and there are some parts where you're like crying as well. This is a great book. I loved this book. I have been trying to find more like stories like this book, and I'm interested to see if Sarah Beth Durst has any other books on the... She doesn't have any books listed like on her page, so I haven't looked her up yet. But yeah, and I've seen some really cutesy style books like this. I recently saw, is it like Love at the Christmas Farm or something? I'll double check. There's some really cute books that I want to pick up that look similar to this that I think I would really like. Anyway, so Spell Shop, 5 out of 5. Absolutely love. Cute little story, cozy, PG, 13, you know, your 10-year-old can read this and they would think it was very, very cute, and they'd still like understand the story and know what was going on. Love, 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 love. Emily Wilde. Second up, Emily Wilde. I was, it took me a really long time to get through these books. I am not used to the diary entries, but I didn't hate them. I liked them because they were all in first person, which we all know here on my channel that I absolutely love first person because it feels like I'm in the story. Yeah, so Emily Wilde. I wasn't really sure about this to start with because I am not used to diary entries, but I didn't hate it. I actually really enjoyed it. It's all in first person, which we know on this channel I absolutely love stories that are in first person because it means that I can jump into the story and feel like I'm the main character. I will say I couldn't ever tell the difference between whether, or at least I still can't really tell whether it's this is everything that was in her diary and that she wrote all of this down, or if there's like part of it's her writing and then the other parts like the story. There's no like distinct difference between the journal entries and then the actual story that's going on. So I would like to believe that this is like a retelling of a story that happened to Emily Wilde, and this is how she's written it down in her diary. And that probably makes more sense to me than anything else. Anyway, I'm not mad about it because it didn't impact the story in any way, shape, or form. And really cute, you even get some point of views from another character that's in the book as well. So it did take me a while to get through this because there is absolutely no like really love story or spicy, or this is very, very PG as well. 10-year-old can definitely read this and understand what's going on. Also, I really liked the addition of throughout the story, especially with like the fact that it's journal entries, because she has so much knowledge and she's obviously university trained. At the bottom of some of the pages, she has like explanations for some stuff that she's talking about as well. So up in like this part, she'll have something that has an asterisk next to it, and then you can actually go to the bottom of the page and she's explained it a little bit more, which I'll be completely honest, I didn't read. I don't think any of them. I might have read one or two, because I wasn't really interested in the lore or history behind what was happening in the story. If you're super into the history and the lore that's happening behind the story, then absolutely you should read them because there's some really good information. But yeah, I definitely didn't read it. Anyway. Filled with magic, obviously, because we're talking about fairies here. Obviously the other book is the map of the other worlds. And the goal of this book was Emily was eventually going to publish an encyclopedia of all the fairies in the world, because she had all of these encounters with different fairies in her travels while she was a scholar. And so the goal at the end of the book was for her to publish the encyclopedia to the public. And then in this one, the goal originally was to publish the map of the fairy lands, essentially. So there's like doors all over the real world to get into the fairy lands, and the goal of it was she was going to publish the map with all of the doors in our real world and then to where they went in the fairy lands, which I thought was really cool. And then her goal kind of changed like a quarter to halfway through the book, because the other character in both books is her like best friend, essentially. They've been scholars together for years, they've worked together, they've published books together, they've done all sorts of things together, they've been working together for ages. And he's like, you know, really dreamy and all that. But like she's so like the nerdiest head in a book girl you could think of. Like hair out, no makeup, like paper bag, brown dress, linen dresses, and just like not girly at all. But then he is like very astute and really cares about his appearance and how he looks and how he presents himself to other people, and has a massive wild crush on her, which I thought was hilarious because so Heather Fawcett is the author of this book, and she did a really good job of explaining Emily, the main character, as like the most relatable nerdy nerd head in a book type girl, which is so felt like me that it was really funny that the male main character in this book had a wild crush on her, because me feeling like I'm in Emily's shoes would be like, why is anyone looking at me? That is ridiculous. I look like I'm not attractive, I am not likable, I am not any of these things. And then you've got like the dreamiest dreamer, like with the biggest crush on you, which I thought was hilarious. And you also eventually find out that he is actually a fairy, which I thought was so cool. She figures it out. She's very like head in the game, like knows everything going on and everything like that, which is so cool. And so like, even though I said there was like no love, no spice, no nothing, very PG, there's like the tiniest bit of love story between these two, but it doesn't happen until like the end of the first book, and then like a little bit more in the second book. Yeah, because in the first book it's all very much about, you know, publishing this encyclopedia and the fact that he ends up turning up and helping her with wherever she is on her journey. And then by the end of the book, it was kind of like a little bit more prevalent that like he had this massive crush on her, and that she kind of had a crush on him as well, but like wasn't going to say anything. Yeah, so that was kind of cute. And yeah, and then in the second book, there's more of that like little kind of love story going on. And it's probably more prevalent closer to the end of the second book as to like what's going on, but the fact that like she changed her whole goal halfway through this book to try and find so the goal of this book again was to publish the map of the Fairylands and where other doors were, but then halfway through she cared more about finding his door back to his Fairylands than anything else, and that was what they were looking for. And they end up obviously finding it, and then on top of all of that, there's actually another, like there's a whole other story going on in the background, because obviously after you find out that he is a fairy, there's a whole story about like where he came from and why he's in the real lands and why he doesn't have any family and all this sort of stuff. And you find out that he's like a crown prince of the Shadowlands, which is supposed to be like the scariest of all the fairylands. And his stepmother has taken the throne, and she ends up trying to send out assassins to kill him so she can have full power. Wow. So I thought that was like a really nice little story to like go in as well. Yeah, and then like at the end of the book it's all like happy endings, and yeah, so I would 100% give this one, I'd probably give this one 4 out of 5, not a 5 out of 5, only because it took me so long to get through it, and at the start of the first book it was so much world building and knowledge building that I personally was getting like a little bit bored, because I was like, I just want to know what the story, like just tell me the story. But still a really beautiful, like I'm looking to get the third book, The Forgotten Tales, I think it's called. I'll put it up on the screen, because I don't think that's what it's called, but I'm looking to get the third book as well, and I'll finish the series. But again, very cute series. Heather Fawcett she's a great writer. She does a great job retelling this story, whether it's supposed to be a retelling of Emily's story and this is how Emily wrote it down, or if it's tidbits of Emily's diary entries and then the story on top of that, I'm not sure. But I'm not mad about it. It's a beautiful little story, very magical, very cute. There's, you know, happy parts and sad parts, and I wasn't exactly, you know, little girl giggling like I was at the spell shop, but I definitely still felt very immersed in this story. I felt like I was Emily and I was the one doing all this research, and I was the scholar, and this was like my diary, which was really cool. So yeah, if you are interested in any of these like little cozy PG kind of little love story / magical storylines, then you should definitely check out both the Spell Shop and Emily Wilde's series. I think they're both very cute. and I am definitely going to be back with more reviews on the other book series that I was talking about, which I'll put up on the screen again now for you, because they look really cute as well. Yeah, so I hope you have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me, and happy reading. See you next time.